Hi guys, Forgotten Wolf here, and this is episode 5 of my Game of Thrones House series, being this time on the history of House Targaryen. This is going to be a very long one, so get your snacks and your drink with spoilers ahead. Let's begin. House Targaryen is one of the last houses to survive the Doom of Valyria. They only survived because they left Valyria for Westeros 12 years earlier. This also made them the only house to have dragons in Westeros, which would be one of their major weapons. This sets the stage for Aegon's conquest. I'll go more into detail on Aegon's conquest in a future video, but King Aegon Targaryen went on a conquest to unite Westeros under the Targaryen banner, making him king. Aegon also had two sister wives, being Visenya and Rhaenys Targaryen. Together the three Targaryens defeated the Lannisters, Arryns, Greyjoys, while getting the Starks to bend the knee, and Arryns, while giving rise to the Tyrells and the Baratheons. Aegon finally became king when he was crowned by the Macers in a starry night in Old Town, the seat of House Hightower. Aegon also created the Iron Throne by using 1,000 swords of his enemies to create the Iron Throne that would sit in King's Landing, causing wars for many years to come. After completing his conquest, King Aegon and his sister wives sought to conquer Dorne. This led to the First Dornish War, where, to the shock of many, the Dornish won, keeping their independence. King Aegon ruled for many years, but in 37 AC, and he died, leading to the crowning of King Aenys, alongside 4 rebellions, which the most notable one allowed for House Greyjoy to become the new lords of the Iron Islands. King Aenys' rule would be more challenging than Aegon's for the reason of people thought House Targaryen could be defeated without Aegon. And this, alongside the unpopular practice of marrying someone in their own family, led to the Faith Militant Uprising. The uprising caused King Aenys to flee back to Dragonstone, where he would die. This allowed Maegor the Cruel to step in, challenge the Faith, and Aenys' eldest son, Aegon, for the throne. While Maegor won against Aegon, making Maegor King Maegor, he spent his whole reign battling against the Faith Militant and ultimately defeating them. Maegor would also become known as Maegor the Cruel. Maegor the Cruel finally died in 48 AC under unknown circumstances, making Jaehaerys Targaryen the new king. Jaehaerys' rule was very peaceful, but he kept losing his children and heirs, with the exception of 2. His daughter Rhaenys Targaryen and his eldest grandson Viserys Targaryen. A great council was organized where the lords of Westeros chose Viserys Targaryen to be crowned king. King Viserys was married to Queen Aemma Arryn. The couple loved each other a lot, but despite many pregnancies, Aemma Arryn was only able to give Viserys one child, being Rhaenyra Targaryen. Now, I don't need to recap the next years, as the events are depicted in the House of the Dragon show, so go check that out. Long story short, Queen Aemma Arryn dies in childbirth. Daemon Targaryen makes a foolish action, causing King Viserys to name Rhaenyra as heir. Viserys also remarries, marrying Alicent Hightower, Rhaenyra's friend, and Otto Hightower's daughter. Alicent gave Viserys 3 sons and 1 daughter. Despite this, Viserys never changed his heir from Rhaenyra. However, when Viserys dies, Alicent and Otto crown Viserys' oldest son, Aegon, king anyway. This starts the Dance of the Dragons between King Aegon II and Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen. King Aegon won, but all his heirs were killed, with the exception of Queen Rhaenyra's son Aegon. But the major impact is that all the dragons were killed. While there were 3 alive, they eventually died. This meant that House Targaryen's major weapon was dead. Hold on. Oh, sorry about that one. After the death of King Aegon II, King Aegon the Younger, Aegon III, took the throne, and he ruled peacefully for many years. However, he eventually died, and his son Prince Daeron Targaryen became king. King Daeron did leave one major impact, being his conquest of Dorne, which resulted in his death, and his brother King Baelor the Blessed, was now king. Eventually, this led to Dorne joining the 7 Kingdoms thanks to King Daeron II. Now, apparently the Targaryen family, they love civil war. Not a good idea, but hey, whatever interests you. King Aegon IV, or Aegon the Unworthy, hated his son, Daeron II, and so when he was dying, he legitimized all his bastard-born children, creating the Blackfyre Rebellion. King Daeron Targaryen was challenged by Daemon I Blackfyre, King Aegon's bastard. This became a grueling conflict where Daeron II eventually won the war, and he created a marriage pact with Dorne to bring them into the Seven Kingdoms finally. This created peace for many years until 290 AC, where King Aeron died, and this eventually led to King Aerys I becoming king. However, he was challenged by Daemon II Blackfyre in the Second Blackfyre Rebellion. Like the first one, the Targaryens won and the Blackfyres were defeated. Now, you'd think after two rebellions, the Blackfyres would eventually learn their way. But no, apparently they wanted to rebel two more times. Why would they rebel two more times after being after being defeated in the first two? No idea, but they're idiots. Well, to be fair, the Targaryens are much better, but that's besides the point. Eventually, King Jaehaerys II came into power, and alongside himself, all his brothers and siblings broke their marriage pact, an act the Lords of Westeros would never forget. King Jaehaerys eventually dies, and this leads to Aerys II, or the Mad King, becoming king. He had two children prior to Robert's rebellion, being Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, who was married to Elia Martell of Dorne, and Prince Viserys Targaryen. The Mad King became mad, and he got rid of his hand, Tywin Lannister, after he named Tywin's eldest son, Jaime Lannister, to the King's Guard, meaning he couldn't be a lord or have children. Without Tywin on his side, the Mad King began to see the Targaryen dynasty crumble. After the tourney of Harrenhal, Prince Rhaegar Targaryen kidnapped and R.A.P.D. Lyanna Stark. Yeah, allegedly the story, which is horrible. Now, Lyanna Stark was the daughter of Lord Rickard Stark, who was father to Ned Stark, and she was also betrothed to Robert Baratheon. Brennan Stark became very angry and demanded Prince Rhaegar died in King's Landing. Well, he wasn't there, but terrible move, Brandon. If you're gonna try and kill Rhaegar, rather do it by a war. This led to Brandon and Lord Rickard being executed by wildfire. This started Robert's Rebellion. If you want to hear it in detail, go check out my true story of Robert's Rebellion video I made a while back. King Aerys Targaryen also had a daughter born during Robert's Rebellion, being Daenerys Targaryen. But thanks to Robert and Stannis, Prince Viserys and Prince Daenerys were forced out of Westeros, and much of Daenerys' childhood was spent on the run from Robert's assassins. So, yeah, that's horrible. We have finally reached the events of Game of Thrones. This feels like this is taking forever. This is such a long script to write, but in season 1, Viserys Targaryen, who had been crowned king by his mother many years ago in the last days of Robert's Rebellion, Viserys married his sister Daenerys Targaryen off to Khal Drogo in order to get the Dothraki army to his cause. This caused a divide in King's Landing between Ned Stark and Robert Baratheon, but the hope was for Viserys to someday invade Westeros. I have no doubt that Viserys, when he invaded Westeros, would try to have killed Khal Drogo and marry Daenerys off to someone else, but this ultimately bit Viserys in the ass when Khal Drogo got sick of him and killed him. This meant that the last Targaryen was Daenerys Targaryen, or so people thought. More on that later. Daenerys was crowned queen, but she also gave up the life of her son after a miscarriage to give life to 3 baby dragons in hope to resurrect Khal Drogo. These baby dragons were named Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegal. Fans of Game of Thrones Legends will know this very well. This also gave Daenerys Targaryen her title as the Mother of Dragons, and throughout seasons 2 to 4, she began her conquest of the free cities, becoming the Breaker of Chains, freeing all the slaves in various cities, being Starting off in Season 2, Daenerys took Karth getting the gold from the city and freeing the slaves there. In Season 3, Daenerys sold a dragon, I think it was Drogon, to Astapor in exchange for around 8,000 to 10,000 Unsullied, giving her an army. She then ordered the dragon to burn the master of Astapor and conquered it by having all Unsullied kill the slavers in Astapor. She also gained another knight to advise her, in addition to Jorah Mormont being former Lord Commander of the Kingsguard Barristan Selmy, who had been dismissed by King Joffrey Baratheon. Barristan Selmy ultimately saved Daenerys' life when someone tried to assassinate her at the beginning of Season 3. Eventually, this leads into Season 4, with Daenerys now with a huge powerful army and 3 dragons. Daenerys conquered Meereen, making herself the Queen of Meereen. Now, after this, Daenerys could have tried to invade Westeros there and then, as all the kingdoms had been left devastated, with the exception of the Vale, the Tyrells, and Dorne, of their armies thanks to the War of the Five Kings. But Daenerys decided to stay in Meereen to help and go free all the slaves of the free cities, while also dealing with the masters that wanted justice for Daenerys taking away their slaves. Fuck the masters. And that is the end of the Targaryens for Season 4. But I mentioned earlier that Daenerys was the last of the Targaryens, but this wasn't exactly true. Now, viewers of this channel will know where I'm going with this, but you see, Prince Rhaegar Targaryen actually married Lyanna Stark in secret after Rhaegar supposedly kidnapped her. In reality, they ran away together. Lyanna Stark gave birth to Jon Snow, or Aegon Targaryen, or his actual name, Aegon Targaryen. Now, he would be a bastard, but a maester had actually annulled Rhaegar's marriage to Lyanna, meaning Jon Snow was the true heir to the Seven Kingdoms. But to protect him, Ned Stark didn't call him Aegon Targaryen, and instead called him Jon Snow, raising Jon up in Winterfell as Ned's own bastard. This meant Catelyn Stark hated Jon Snow throughout the childhood, as Jon Snow took after Lyanna Stark. Jon had joined the Night's Watch in Season 1, and by Season 4, the White Wolf, as he was known, would become Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. So the Targaryens are finally going on the rise again. This is all from this episode of Game of Thrones Houses, and in the next episode, which will be the season finale, I will finally be covering House Stark in September, as September is coming, and with it, winter is coming. And before that, if you want more content like this, at 100 subscribers, I'll do a 1-hour video on the FNAF Timeline. At 500 likes, I'll do a video on Greyjoy's Rebellion. And at 50k views, I'll do a video on the life of Ned Stark. But until then, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, bye!